In case you don't know me, my name is Raina, and my friend Julia and I were Fashion Club presidents this year, and we didn't want to leave you without a show. So, in the light of this dim situation we're in right now, we present to you the virtual fashion show experience, which develops this idea that we were going to present to you with a physical fashion show this year, which was time and the history of fashion. We weren't able to bring that to you physically this year, so we're bringing it to you virtually. We didn't want to leave you without a show this year. So, a bit about me. I was in the fashion club since sophomore year, and I worked my way up until I became president. And I did the best I could this year. Unfortunately, this whole situation happened and flushed everything we wanted to do down the drain. So we wanted to give you the best we could in light of this situation. So without further ado, here is the virtual fashion show experience. I hope you enjoy.
Hi guys, my name is Julia Sheik. I am one of the two presidents of the fashion club together with Raina. This fashion show is everything to us. We were so sad when it was canceled, but we weren't gonna just not do it. We waited 4 years for this. We started out as models, and then we worked our way up. We helped organize last year's fashion show. I was actually a designer, and Raina was my model last year. She also helped organize. So we have been waiting for this moment for a very long time, and we couldn't let it pass by. I know it's not perfect, but it's at home, we had to do with our own clothes because obviously we can't go out and buy it, so we tried our best. We chose to do fashion through the decades because we love fashion history, and our fashion club was all about teaching what we know about fashion history and fashion terms. So we thought it would only be right to end it with this show on fashion through the decades and a little bit of what we think the future is going to look like. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. This has 4 years of dreaming about this, and this is what we came up with. I know it's not perfect, but it's really what we could do. And I'm just happy that we get to do at least something for this year. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. So the 1950s was a time after World War II. As we know, in the World War II, women had to take on very masculine jobs. So when 1950s came, girls wanted to be girly, and they wanted to wear dresses that accentuated their waist. So Dior caught right onto that and created the new look, which is super iconic, accentuated their hourglass figure, but was not comfortable or wearable, which was everything Chanel stood for. So she had to come up with a new silhouette that was comfortable and wearable so women can work with. Some icons of the era was Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn, and Elizabeth Taylor. The 1960s was the time for the teenagers. It was when teenage fashion was actually really growing a lot, so clothes were cheaper and more like street style, and more wearable and comfortable. Was also the rise of hippies. Before that, they were only called beatniks. Some icons were obviously Twiggy, Jackie Kennedy, and Cher.
There is so much more to the 1970s than bell-bottoms and fitted shirts. This decade was all about experiments and societal changes. The hippie movement completely revolutionized history and fashion for years to come. Disco was all the craze, and icons like Diana Ross, Elton John, Freddie Mercury, and Twiggy helped to shape this era into what it was. The 1980s was truly an iconic period that is still relevant to this day. The relevancy of this time is due to its bold color schemes, bright ambiance, and iconic pop culture figures. Brands such as MTV, Nike, and Coca-Cola are most notably associated with this time and are usually sported on the articles of clothing during this time. Icons such as Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince, George Michael, and movies like Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club, and Dirty Dancing shaped this time period. We saw textures such as denim and baggy clothing, which were very much in style. Athletic clothes were all the rave, and stars would showcase this in their own individual way, creating an iconic time period that is still relevant to this day. The 1990s was also an iconic time period, which we can see in nods in our society today. When we think of the 90s, we can usually visualize the low maintenancy that contrasted the style of the 80s. Glam and grunge were arguably the most noted styles, popular with brands like Gap, Guess, and Tommy Hilfiger. Simplicity was key. Popular movies and shows like Clueless and Friends, and celebrities like Kate Moss, Britney Spears, and Jennifer Aniston contributed to the minimalistic aesthetic, which we can still see today.
Within early 2000s trends, a recurring trend was a staple within the makeup. During this time, it wasn't so much about the dramatic effect, but more of the gloss and ombre effect. More and more stars wanted to have thin eyebrows as well as glossy lips. This was seen on stars like Christina Aguilera, Paris Hilton, and it was a large staple for much of the big pop stars at the time. Large trends started to occur with accessories. This was seen with the visors trend. More and more glasses became larger and more glass-like, rather than in the 90s when they were a bit more minuscule and smaller. During this time, you saw huge glasses with the obvious logo, and you saw these on Madonna, Mariah Carey. They were a huge staple, and this is something I would have put on the models to accentuate the look and make it a bit more ready to go. During this time, there was a big rise in the low-waist jean. The low-waist jean was made popular in the late 90s by Alexander McQueen, and you saw this rise in the low-waist jean in the late 90s, and it made a huge comeback in the early 2000s up until probably 2007, where you saw Britney Spears wearing low-waist jeans. You saw Devin Aoki wearing low-waist jeans. The low-waist jean and the cut jean with the zigzag was huge, and it really established the factor that fashion was really evolving from the late 90s. There was no need for high-waisted jeans anymore, and the mass cultural media was obsessed with this grandiose image of being more on the sex appeal side of fashion. During this time, you saw huge brands brand their names on anything you could think of. But one of the most iconic pieces of this was the logo shirt. Dior did this with their J'adore Dior, their Miss Dior, and you saw this on basically any teen shirt. You saw this with kind of dumb quotes saying, "She's hot, that's hottie," and it was this mimicry of mass enterprises, but it was made so popular that it was so capitalistic it became normal. It seems that now there is a large uprising in the athletic wear fashion, which was seen a bit in the 80s, and obviously it's back now, but some subculture of this was seen with Juicy Couture's tracksuit. This was made special because of the fact that now celebrities could wear a simple tracksuit and look like they were dressed up. And this kind of played into the fact of ready-to-wear fashion and just fast-looking fashion, because of the fact that this became so popular, so much off-brands made it, and then everyone wanted the juicy look. You saw this on Beyonce, Lindsay Lohan. This was a it staple that everyone wanted, and it really revolutionized the fact of athletic wear where we are today. For my early 2000s line, I was driving much on the inspiration of Beyonce, Paris Hilton, Mariah Carey, all of these grand fashion icons during this time. And I was primarily going to dress my models in the color scheme of pink with some denim and a bit of black here and there. I was going to use chains, high heels, mostly stilettos, and really just make the show a good representation of all the trends that were present during the early 2000s.
The 2010 was the peak of fast fashion. It was the rise of hip-hop culture and skate culture that affected fashion so much in being so casual and so wearable and comfortable. Kim Kardashian was doing all the Yeezy and her husband. Kylie Jenner injected her lips and created the Kylie Cosmetics brand. And Meghan Trainor came out with All About That Bass, which kickstarted the body positivity movement.
Mira el ritmo como los tiene, hago música que entretiene, mi música los tiene fuerte bailando y se baila así.
We don't know what is in store for the future of fashion, but we may have an idea. Sustainability is key to the future in fashion. As Alexa Chung states, everyone is going to buy less and think more. Upcycling will most likely take the place of brand stores and shopping malls. Technology will revolutionize the way we shop and get our clothes, and there's no way of telling what the future holds but experiencing it for ourselves.
So that was it. That was our fashion show. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, share with somebody. I hope you guys learned something about fashion history and you were at least intrigued about learning more. So that was it. Thank you so much for watching.